Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everybody. You're welcome to this webinar on information security governance. Before we start, I'd like you to confirm to me that you can see my presentation and you can hear me clearly. You can drop a message in the chat, or you can use the React button at the top of your Microsoft Teams application. But what I needed to do for me is for you to confirm to me that you can hear me clearly and you can see my presentation. Awesome. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much for that response. I'd like to hear from others as well. If you can hear me clearly, if you can hear me clearly, if you can see my presentation, I'd like you to respond in the chat, or you can use the React button at the top of your Microsoft Teams application. If you look at the top of your Microsoft Teams application, right, you would see an icon there that says React. If you click on that, you would see the thumbs up button, you will see the love button, and you will see the applause button. You can just use it. If you don't want to type in the chat, but you want to respond, you can just use the React button to give me a thumbs up to say, I can hear you clearly. Thank you very much, Hazani. Thank you very much for your response. Yep, thank you very much, Nuran. Awesome. Thank you very much. So let's get into the conversation. I'm going to try as much as possible to make these conversation, right, these webinar worth your while. I'm going to try as much as possible to make it fruitful. Now, we're going to be discussing information security governance. Information security governance is very, very important. But before we go into the main conversation about information security governance, I'd like us to do one or two things. I'd like to help you see what this conversation is going to revolve around, what this conversation is going to be about. So I'm going to briefly, very shortly, I'm going to be introducing myself. And after the introduction, I'm going to go into speaking to corporate governance. Now, we cannot discuss information security governance, right, without talking about corporate governance. It's not possible. It's not going to be complete. Corporate governance conversation is very important. And the reason is because information security governance is built on corporate governance. This is what I'm trying to say. You see, corporate governance is a foundation. I'm going to use CG. Corporate governance is a foundation for information security governance. So that's why we're going to talk about corporate governance. We're going to talk about corporate governance a little bit before we go into information security governance. And after we've talked about information security governance, we're going to go into question and answer session where you can ask your questions and I'll try as much as possible to respond to your questions. Then we will end the webinar or the conversation for today. I wanted to sit back and relax because I'm going to try as much as possible to, make this time, the time you set aside to be a part of this webinar, I'm going to try as much as possible to make it worth your while, right? So now this is me for you. My name is Adesoji Ogunjobi. Now, I'm originally from Nigeria, just in case you're wondering, where is it from? I'm a Nigerian, and this is my profile. I've been in cybersecurity for over 10 years. Precisely, I've been in cybersecurity for like 15 years, and I've been in technology for like 20 years because I actually worked as a Microsoft infrastructure consultant between 2004 and 2010 before I went into cybersecurity in 2010. And between 2004 and 2010, I actually I completed the Microsoft MTSE certification, which Microsoft later converted to or upgraded to MCITP around 2009. So I was a Microsoft infrastructure consultant. I was into deploying Microsoft product and all of that. But in 2010, I went into cybersecurity, and I've been in cybersecurity since then. And it's been a very interesting one, and it's been a very good journey. The first certification ever that I wrote in 2010 was the CISSP, and that really, took my cybersecurity career to the next level. Now, I've worked across different, roles. If you go into my profile, I've worked as support specialist, I've worked as cybersecurity specialist, I've worked as head of IT infrastructure, I've worked as head of I've worked as head of information system audit for a bank. I've actually worked through several roles, and I've also worked and I'm still working as a cybersecurity trainer. I actually started working as a cybersecurity trainer in 2011. Just immediately now let me correct that. So I've actually been working as a trainer in other areas before that of cybersecurity. Between 2004 and 2010, right, I actually passed the I passed the ITIL version 3. Now, that period, I actually trained ITIL version 3. I trained ITIL version 3 a lot, and I really loved it. If you remember, for those of us here, you will remember ITIL version 3, where you talked about service strategy, service design, service transition, then you have service transition, then you have continuous service improvement. I trained that then. So I've been training a lot before I started training cybersecurity in 2011. So I've walked through several roles. So that's me for you. If you're interested, let's connect on LinkedIn, and I'll readily say yes to your request to connect. Now you may feel free to call me Soji, just in case there's a short form of my name. You can call me Soji. If you struggle to pronounce the full name, just feel free to call me Soji. But this is my profile, and this is me for you. Now let's get into this conversation quickly. Now, what is corporate governance? What is corporate governance? Now, if you look at what I have here, I said corporate governance is the foundation to building resilient cybersecurity posture. And it is absolutely true. Now, why would you say, or why would I say corporate governance is a foundation, right, to building resilient cybersecurity posture? Now, take note of something here. I did not say corporate governance is a foundation to building 100% cybersecurity posture, because there's nothing like 100% cybersecurity posture. It doesn't exist. What we want to build is a resilient cybersecurity posture. And what is a resilient cybersecurity posture? A resilient cybersecurity posture is a posture that, despite cybersecurity attacks or cybersecurity threats, technology failure, process failure, that posture, right, despite all of those type of possible failures, your company will still stay afloat. Your company would not go under. That is what a resilient cybersecurity posture is. When a company has a resilient cybersecurity posture, it means that irrespective of the challenges, cybersecurity risk, cybersecurity challenges, cybersecurity attacks faced by the company will still remain functional. The company won't go aground. The company will not die. The company will recover and continue to operate. That is what resilient cybersecurity is about. And corporate governance is one important parameter or factor that can help us achieve what? Resilient cybersecurity posture. And the question is, what is corporate governance? Now, corporate governance is where the board of directors and the senior executives of a company, of an organization, sit. It is a mechanism that allows them, right? Corporate governance is a mechanism that allows the board of directors and the C-level executives, you may call them the executive management. It is that mechanism that allows them to provide direction and control to an organization. So corporate governance is what allows them to provide direction and control to the organization. It allows the board of directors and C-level executives to provide direction and control to an organization. Corporate governance is a mechanism that allows the board of directors and the C-level executives to do what? To align what? To align whatsoever is happening in a company with the company goals and objective. Every company have a business goal and objective. Now, corporate governance is what makes it possible for the board of directors and the C-level executives to align HR activities, procurement activities, cybersecurity activities, financial activities with the goals and objective of the company. Corporate governance is what makes it possible, or is a mechanism, or is a tool, or is the vehicle used by the board of directors and the C-level executives to ensure that a company gets value from HR activities, from technology activities, from financial activities, activities of the finance department, activities of the procurement department, activity of third-party service providers. Corporate governance is the tool, the mechanism that allows the board of directors and the C-level executive to ensure that an organization gets value from its investment in these different units or in its investment in this different department. Corporate governance is also the vehicle that is used to manage risk in an organization. The risk that a company is exposed to, human risk, for example, human risk, which is people risk. Corporate governance is what makes it possible for the board of directors and the C-level executives to manage people risk through the HR department, to manage technology risk through cybersecurity department, to manage technology performance risk through IT department, to manage procurement risk through procurement department, to manage financial risk through the finance department, to manage third-party risk through third-party risk management department or processes. Corporate governance is what makes that possible. Now, corporate governance is also the vehicle that puts, that mandates, right, the board of directors and the C-level executives to be accountable and transparent about how they manage the organization. Corporate governance is the reason why your company has to file its financial report. Corporate governance is the reason why your company has to report on whether they are in alignment with certain regulatory requirements or industrial requirements. It is corporate governance. Corporate governance is why your company has to, align with or conform to, for example, GDPR requirements or the different regulations in the different jurisdictions in which everyone in this meeting operates. It's corporate governance. Corporate governance is what mandates your board of directors, your C-level executives to be transparent about the well-being, about how well the company is doing. It's corporate governance. So corporate governance is very, very important. Corporate governance is not just something if a company is healthy, if you see a healthy company, then it means that that company has a healthy corporate governance. So corporate governance is about leadership. Now, if you want to understand corporate governance more, then you should consult with the ISO 37000. ISO 37000 speaks about 11 core governance principles. Now, the ISO 37000 is a standard or a framework that helps us understand what is expected of the board of directors and the C-level executives. And that's what you're seeing in my presentation. For example, it says there has to be purpose. The company needs to have a purpose. The board of directors and the C-level executive has to make sure that the company has a purpose. The company needs to have a purpose. The purpose, everything you do in a company revolves around the purpose of the company. Also, value generation. The board of directors and the C-level executive must ensure that the company create value. That's one way the company can stay afloat. That's one way the company can survive. The reason you and I are here today is because iExpert is creating value. They have a purpose. They have a value that they're presenting. And that's why you're here. If they do not have any value, you're not going to be here because you do not want to waste your time. Your time is very precious and very limited. And they have corporate gov. Now, the ISO 37000 also says that the board of directors and the C-level executive must ensure that a company has a strategy. What is a strategy? A strategy is a practicable plan that you can use to achieve something. So it could be IT security strategy, it could be IT strategy, it can be human resource strategy, it can be procurement strategy, it can be third-party management strategy, whatever strategy it is. A strategy is a practicable plan that you use in achieving something. That's why IT security would have a strategy, which is what a practicable plan that you can use to help the company have the right cybersecurity posture. That is what your strategy would be. Then we have oversight. ISO 37000 says that a company must have a board of directors, a group of people that monitor performance, that monitors compliance. It's very important. Please give me a minute. Just give me a minute, please. Apologies for that. There was a mailman. I was expecting a parcel. So they just brought the parcel. So apologies for that. So back to what we're saying. So we have ISO 37000 says that a company must, have a board of directors and the C-level executives that ensures that manages a company, ensures performance, ensures compliance, that's oversight. Accountability as well. And also stakeholders engagement. Who are the stakeholders? The regulators, the staff within the company, the customers, the country within which the company operates, the community the company is operating in. All of these are the different stakeholders. And corporate governance is saying that you need to manage your stakeholders. You need to engage with your stakeholders, even your service providers, your third-party service providers are your stakeholders. You need to build trust with them. And all of these are the responsibilities of the board of directors and the C-level executives. Please, if you have any questions, if you want to, ask your question, just hold on. I'm going to make sure that, at the end of this conversation, I'm going to respond to your question. Then also it talks about ethical behavior. The company should do the right thing. The company should operate with fairness and integrity. Don't undercut. Don't be malicious. Don't be fraudulent. Make sure you do the right thing. Then you have risk governance. Risk, you see, every company is exposed to risk. So for example, from the use of technology, a company is exposed to what we call technology risk. And that's the reason for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity or information security. Now, I'm going to be using both terms interchangeably. I'm not here to differentiate between the two of them. You and I know that there's a difference between the two of them, but I'm not interested in differentiating between the two of them. I'm just going to use them interchangeably. Now, you and I know that, cybersecurity or information security is there or was created to help a company or an organization manage the risk it is exposed to from the use of technology. Because if this risk cannot manage, like the risk of, risk of malware, risk of technology failure, the risk of insider threat, if this risk cannot manage, it can kill a company. It can result in a company being in administration. The company can collapse. So corporate governance is there to ensure that these risks, any risk that a company is facing, is managed. HR risk, people risk, technology risk, financial risk, liquidity risk, operational risk, all types of risk. Then we have responsibility, we have transparency, and we have sustainability. All of these are the core principles that ISO 37000 says governance is responsible for. And whenever you hear governance, always think of the board of directors and the C-level executives. Just the way you as a parent or our parent, I'm a parent, just the way I owe it to my children to make sure that I guide them, I provide leadership, and make sure that they grow mentally, healthy mentally. I provide shelter, I provide clothing, I protect them, I lead them. Just the way I'm responsible for that is how the board of directors and the C-level executives are responsible for nurturing, for guiding, for protecting, for leading a company. That's what corporate governance is about. If corporate governance is not properly done, the company is going to be sick. It's just like if you do not properly take care of your kids, if you do not properly take care of your children, they're going to look sick. They're going to look unkempt. They're going to look, they will look malnourished. They will look, not cared for. Now, what we're saying is that what is the summary of corporate governance? Look at what it says here. Corporate governance is where business goals and objectives are determined by the board of directors and the C-level executives. The board of directors are accountable for corporate governance. The C-level executives are responsible. Why? Because the board of directors set goals. They set the goals a company must achieve, goals. While the board of directors are responsible for developing plans or strategy, what you may call strategy, to achieve these goals. Then corporate governance is a mechanism that enables the board of directors to set goals for the organization. And corporate governance is a mechanism that enables the C-level executives to develop strategy or plans to achieve the goals set by the board. That is what corporate governance is. Now, on top of corporate governance, we can then build what we call information security governance. Information security governance is a mechanism for aligning IT security to business goals. What does alignment mean in the context of information security? Information security alignment with business goals means that anything you do in information security is tied to a business need. What I'm trying to say is this. Let me give you an example. So if you're buying a router for your company, there's a business need for buying the router. If you're upgrading your technology infrastructure, it's because there's a business need for that upgrade. If you're doing risk assessment, it's because there's a business need for it. That is what we call alignment of information security with what? With business goals and objective. Now, what is misalignment? Let me give an example of misalignment. Misalignment is when you buy technology because you want to do your friend a favor. There's no business need, but because you want to do your childhood friend who runs a technology company a favor, so you decided to buy technology that your company does not need. That is out of alignment. That is misalignment of information security with business goals and objectives. So alignment of information security governance, please take note of it, with business goals and objective means that anything you do in information security has a link, or there's a business need, there's a business requirement for that activity, for that process, for that thing you're doing in information security. Now, before we go into what information security is, information security governance, remember this saying, they said a fish rot from the head. So what I'm trying to say is, if you work in a company, or if you see a company with a very good, robust, resilient cybersecurity posture, let me tell you something, it is not accidental. It's because leadership in that company, or what you may call corporate governance in that company, is solid, is very good. It's just like if you see healthy children, well-trained children, children that are cared for, children that are protected. It's not accidental. It's somebody, their parents, that's the work of their parents. It just doesn't happen. Somebody curated it. Somebody made it happen. It just didn't happen. It doesn't appear from the sky. No. So if you see a company with a very good cybersecurity posture, now I did not say a perfect, because a perfect 100% cybersecurity posture does not exist. But if you see a company with a robust, resilient, good cybersecurity posture, it's because leadership is good. The same thing, if you see a company that is breached or that capsized or that died from cybersecurity attack. For example, the Jaguar Land Rover that happened in the UK a couple of months ago. Another example is M&S that also happened in the UK a couple of months ago. Then you have Co-op that also happened in the UK there are a lot of them. Those companies do not have good leadership. They do not have good corporate governance. And if your corporate governance is bad, is faulty, is not solid, your information security governance is going to be poor. It's going to be poor. It's a given. Your information security governance is going to be poor. Now let's look at what information security governance is. What is information security governance? According to ISACA, right? Look at what ISACA IT Governance Institute says about information security governance. It says that information security governance is the responsibility and practices exercised by the board and executive management with the goal of providing strategic direction, ensuring that objectives are achieved, ascertaining that risks are managed appropriately, and verifying that the organization's resources are used responsibly. Now let's break that down. If you go to the next column, look at what it's saying. Look at the key point here. What it's saying is this. It's saying that IT security governance is a responsibility of the board of directors and the executive management. So if you see a good company, a company with a good cybersecurity posture, then the board of directors and the executive management are doing a very good job. That's what this is saying, and that is absolutely correct. Now, the second one is IT security governance is a mechanism used by the board of directors and executive management to do what? To provide strategic direction to what? To information security. You see, IT security governance is how the board of directors and the C-level executives determine the direction in which cybersecurity or information security should be headed in a company, or how cybersecurity or information security should be handled in a company. A company with a very good cybersecurity posture, like I said, means that the board of directors and the C-level executives are guiding, they are leading the cybersecurity program and objective in that company very well. Then look at what it says. The second one, ensure security objectives are achieved. Security objectives are the different goals you want to achieve in information security. So, for example, we could say you want to achieve confidentiality of information and information technology. That is an objective. The board of directors and the C-level executives are responsible for ensuring that these goals, these objectives are achieved. Then ascertain that risk is managed or risk are managed appropriately. Now look at what it said. It did not say that ascertain that risk are eliminated, because you cannot eliminate risk as long as you're using the technology that is responsible for that risk. The only way the risk can be eliminated is for you to stop using the technology responsible for that risk. So what you can do is that you can manage your risk to an acceptable level and optimize your opportunity. And that's why cybersecurity is there. That's what they brought you in to do. Then the next one is verify that the organization resources are used responsibly. The cybersecurity resources given to you, it is the responsibility of the board of directors and the executive to make sure that those resources are used responsibly. For example, the financial resources, the money they gave to you, the people in your care, to make sure you treat them well, you manage them well, the space, the car, the building, the servers, all of those resources they're given to you, it is the responsibility of the board of directors for them to ask you to account. That is why, I don't know, some of us may have been a part of board meeting here, but I've also been a part of board meeting. That is why during quarterly board meeting or half-year board meeting, it depends on how your company does this, the board will ask you to provide report on all of these things, on compliance, on finance, on people, on process, on legal requirement, regulate, because they want to look and ensure that the resources that they've given to you, that you've used them responsibly, that you haven't embezzled companies' resources, that you haven't taken company resources home for personal gain. So it is the responsibility of the board of directors to ensure all of that. Now, if you really want to understand information security governance, then I will encourage you to look into the ISO 27014. The ISO 27014 is the ISO standard for information security governance. And if you look into it, it's going to explain a lot of things to you. So all of the things that I've said here on this particular slide is also what you would see in ISO 27014, but from this perspective, right? Evaluate, direct. It expects the board of directors to evaluate, to direct cybersecurity, to monitor cybersecurity, and to communicate, engage with cybersecurity stakeholders, like regulators, like internal staff, like the public, you understand, the different customers, you engage with them. That is what information security governance is. Information security governance also means the business is happy, the customers are happy, the regulators are happy, everyone is happy, everyone feels secure, everyone have rest of mind that the company is not going to be compromised from any cybersecurity risk. And that brings us to the end of this conversation. I hope that the presentation and I hope that the conversation has been informative, and I hope it's been worth your while. Please, if you have any questions, this is the opportunity and this is the time for you to ask your questions. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your questions. Please, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask your questions, or you might want to drop your questions in the chat. If you have any questions, you might want to drop it in the chat, or I don't know if you can unmute, but if you can unmute, please feel free to ask your questions. I do not want to keep us for too long, and that's why I had to, quickly, summarize it. And I hope we understood what I explained, and looking forward to questions. Any questions? Okay, Simon says, that was insightful. Thank you very much, Simon. Says, how do you measure the effectiveness of an information security governance program beyond simple compliance checklists? Okay, that's a very good question. So for you to measure, right, the effectiveness of information security governance, you need to determine the objectives. You need to determine the objectives of your company's information security governance. Every company have different objectives. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you need to determine the objectives, and against the objectives, you will then create what is called metrics. Metrics. Metrics are what you're going to use to measure the effectiveness of your company's information security governance. Now, let me give an example of what a metric would look like in the real world, right? And I'm going to use real world situation. I'm not going to go into, I'm not going to use cybersecurity, but I'm going to use real world situation. Now, just follow me, because the thing is this, no one can create metrics for you. You would have to create metrics based on your own understanding of the company's objectives. You would have to understand the company's objectives, then create metrics to measure, to determine whether your information security governance program is effective. Now, let me break down something here. What is your information security governance program? Your information security governance program is where you execute, is where you get your hands dirty, is where you begin to do stuff. What are those stuffs? The things you've documented in your information security strategy. Your information security strategy is a plan on what you want to do to help your company have the right cybersecurity posture. Your information security program is where you get your hands dirty. That's where you now create your roadmap, the activities, when you want to achieve them. Do you understand what I'm saying? What you want to achieve, that is your roadmap. That is where you now enter into project mode. That's where you begin to do stuff. Now, that's what your information security governance program is. Now, your ability to meet those objectives is what will determine whether your information security program is effective or not. I'll give an example quickly before. Now, so let's say, for example, I have a meeting. Now, please follow me. Let's say I have a meeting, right? I have a meeting. I have to be in London. Let's say I have to be in London by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. 8 a.m. and I need to fly into London tomorrow morning. Please follow me. I want to paint a picture for you so you can understand how we develop, metrics. Now, because we do this every day without even knowing it. So you want to be in London tomorrow morning by 8 a.m. And you know that for you to get to the airport, you need to get to the airport by 7 a.m. Airport by 7 a.m. Right? Now, it means that you need to wake up by, let's say, 5 a.m. You need to wake up by 5 a.m. Wake up. I'm going to use WK. You need to wake up by 5 a.m. because it will take you like, let's say, 30 minutes. You need to be, it will take you like 30 minutes. So it will take you by 6 a.m. You need to dress up. Dress up. I'm going to use that for dress up so that you can leave the house and be at the airport. Now, these are goals and objectives. You see, these are different objectives that you have set. Are you following me? These are different objectives that you have set, right? Now, your ability to, so how do you determine whether you're going to be in London by 8 a.m.? By achieving your ability to achieve each of these objectives is what would determine whether you're going to you're going to be in London by 8 a.m. So you're going to be measuring. So if, for example, you woke up instead of waking up at 5 a.m., you woke up at, let's say, 5:30, it means that you are at risk of not getting to London by 8 a.m. Now, I did not say, it means that you're beginning to see the indicator because you woke up late. So it means that even though you still have the opportunity, but it means that you are beginning to see the indicator that if you're not careful, you may not be able to be in London at 8 a.m. So your ability to meet each of these. So let's say you woke up at 5:30, but you were still able to meet your 6 a.m. You're able to dress up by 6 a.m. and you got to the airport, then you're going to achieve this. But if you're not able to achieve these, then it means that you're not going to be able to be at London at 8 a.m. I don't know if that makes sense. So you're going to be tracking these. You're tracking these activities. These activities are objectives that you want to achieve. You're tracking them. So if you wake up by 5 a.m., you know that, yes, I'm likely to make it. If you're dressed up by 6 a.m., you're likely to make it. If you get to the airport by 7 a.m., you know that your chances of achieving this of getting to London at 8 a.m. is also very high. Then if the plane leaves, let's say at 7, now it's not, this is just an example. Let's say the plane leaves at 7:30 and it took you 30 minutes to get to London. Then once the plane leaves at 7:30, right, and lands at 8 a.m., you know that you've achieved your goal. So all of these parameters are what you're going to use to measure and to track. I hope that makes sense to you. Then I have a question regarding risk of not implementing a framework. Now that question is not clear. I do not understand what that question is. If you can shed more light on that question, that Hassanen. I hope I pronounced your name well. Then Ibrahim says, I have a question, please. What governance mechanism help ensure employees consistently follow security policies and controls? So the governance mechanism you can use for that is, number one, information security awareness. You need to always train them. Sometimes the reason people don't follow policies and controls, especially for employees, is because sometimes they don't understand it. So let me tell you something. A lot of people in your company, and it's the same thing all over the world, a lot of people have phobia for technology. They fear technology because they do not really understand it. So by conducting information security and awareness training frequently, you can help them, comply with policies and controls. So for example, you can pick an acceptable use policy and discuss it, what the acceptable use policy is about, the reason for the policy, some of the clauses, the penalties, you discuss all of that and you ask them to ask questions. If you do that for all of your policies, if you do that frequently for your policies, you would help them to begin to embrace and understand these policies and also controls. So for example, if you have technology controls, you explain it to people why you have those technology controls. If you have web filter, you tell them why the web filter is there. You tell them the benefit of the web filter. You tell them the risk of not having the web filter. You tell them all of that. If you help them understand all of that, you see, with time, they'll begin to adjust because they know this technology are for their good and for the good of the company. Then for Ali says, what governance metrics or dashboard do you find most effective for reporting to senior management? Now, every organization have their metrics, have their dashboard. There's not a one size fits all. Every company will tell you how they want you to, for example, report on metrics. But if you really want to understand how to use metrics and performance and measurement, there's an ISO standard that can teach you that. And there's also a NIST documentation on performance and reporting. There's a NIST documentation. If you go into the NIST framework, right, online and search, you will find it. If you go into the NIST framework, you would find it. Then let me just quickly see if we can go. If you did NIST metric and performance framework. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, that's it here. Hold on, let me see. Okay, this is, let me see, should be here somewhere. Version 2. Yeah, this is it. NIST Measurement Guide for Information Security. So go download this and read it. It's free. NIST documentations are very free. The ISO documentation is not free. That's why I did not take you there. But for NIST documentation, is 33 pages. If you read it, you will get the information you're looking for on Measurement Guide for Information Security. For Ali that asks what governance metrics dashboard, it would explain that to you. And also the person who, so any question you have around measurements or, metrics, this framework would help you. Then the last one, what is the strategic impact of operating without a recognized information? Now, you're not going to achieve anything. You're not going to achieve anything. You need information security framework for you to be able to, to implement effective information security governance and, to help your company have the right security posture. It's like going from one location to another without a map. You're going to get lost, or you're going to be doing try and error. You understand? Today, if you want to go to a place you do not know, what do you use? You either use Google Maps or you use SatNav. You need something to guide you. Without that, you just be going in cycles, or you eventually run out of resources and you're not going to achieve anything within the short period of time. Remember, in information security, we have time constraint. You have very limited time within which you need to achieve a lot of things. So you need them. You need this framework. They are easy ways for you to know what to do. I hope that answers your questions. And so any more questions? Any more questions before we close? I hope the session was informative. Any more questions? And I hope I answered your questions. I hope I answered your questions. Okay, so in the absence of any questions, I'd like to say thank you very much. And this is where we bring this webinar to a close. And I want to say thank you very much for taking time to listen. And thank you very much for taking time to attend this webinar. I hope you found some very useful information. Please, for those of us who are asking questions around what you need to use to determine measurement metrics, go look at this NIST documentation. I've been using it for years. It's very good. If you read it, it's going to tell you what to do. It will tell you how to pick your metrics, how to, and these things are very easy and they're very simple. Okay, so thank you very much and bye for now.